I presume, so that's good enough for
Yep.
now. Stacy, you want to go next?
Hello, everybody. I am Stacy Graham, current club president of Auburn Gold Country Rotary and District 5190's District Governor nominee designate 2324. And I know, it's so exciting. And I'm on here because I need to make sure that I'm paying attention to other people's needs and what they feel leadership is. And plus, I know the benefit that Rotary has given me in running my businesses and the leadership tools it has taught me to be a better public speaker and to be a servant leader. So I want to learn more.
Awesome. And thank you and welcome, Stacy. I am going to ask if you're not talking, if you can put yourself on mute, and that way it'll reduce noise. Mary, you're next on my list, so I'm going to ask you next.
So I am president-elect this year at Ely Rotary Club, and just taking advantage of all of these trainings that you guys are so willing to provide to help me be better in my position coming up.
Cool. Well, good. Welcome. And I think that you'll all find that, you know, the reality is you all know more than you think you know. Judy, you're next on my chart here.
Okay, Judy Clark, Rotary Club of Sparks, and a day without learning something is a day not worthwhile.
Oh, I love that. Continuous learning. And, you know, it's one of the hallmarks of good leaders is to be a continuous learner. There's always more to learn. And even if you know it from sometime else, there's some nuance that you can add to it. So it's great. Thank you. Kathy.
Kathy Wilcox Barnes with Rotary Club of Nevada City. And leadership is so important, especially now. And what two better people to lead us in this discussion than Berta and Gail.
Aw, thank you. Believe me, there's, you know, we didn't have any answers for this year. How do you do it? Who knows? So we're all still learning in this crazy time. But thank you and welcome. Gary, you're next on the list.
Gary Ailes, old guy from Carson City. I'm always interested in leadership and somebody else's ideas, and who knows what pearl you can pick up.
Good. Yeah, pearls of wisdom, right? I love it. My old English teacher used to call him that. John Banks.
Well, I am the president-elect and two-time president before, so this is my third time in a row. And I have about zero leadership skills because I'm still learning every single day, and I appreciate all of Berta's help. Thank you.
Methinks you just complain too much or protest too much. I think you're a better leader than you realize, John.
Thanks.
Okay, let's see. Next on the list is Chessa.
Hi, I'm Chessa Keene from Reno Centennial Sunset. I'm president-elect, and I feel it's my responsibility, my obligation, and my desire to learn as much as I can to present new ideas to my club and make this the best year ever.
Aw, that's good. It's coming in with that attitude. You know, the other side of that is when you set that attitude, you will actually see more in front of you. It will, it's all out there anyway. So it's just, but your awareness will bring it in. Oh, hi, darling. Boo. Boo. Hi, honey. Okay, Walt. Sweetie, I'm on a call. Okay, Walt, you're next.
I'm from the Alturas Club. I will be president-elect next year. And I was past president in 96, 97.
Anything that you're hoping to just get from these in specifics?
I'm always looking for new ideas in leadership. I've had quite a few leadership positions with my employer and other organizations. So it's just always something good to look at each time I go through one of these things. So
awesome. Thank you. Okay, let's see who's on there next. I see Scott.
Yes, hello, everybody. I'm Scott Tudhope, a new member here in Fallon, Nevada. I am the current Sergeant of Arms, and we are a very small club, as you probably know, but we're doing just fine. We're getting through the pandemic somehow. In any case, I just need to know a few things about what you think, what you're looking for in a good leader. All right, and my president's here, Wendell Gibson. Yay, Wendell.
Well, and you know that we will learn from each other. That's the whole point of this today. So thanks Scott for being here. Wendell, you're next.
Oh, goodness. Berta, it's always good to be with you. I believe I got your email and I looked at it as a better perspective from the one that I have now, and anything that I can pick up to kind of do better will help a lot. And I know you folks have a lot of experience, so I'm in for it. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. And experience is good, and new perspectives are also really good too. Now I'm going back through the list, making sure I didn't miss anybody.
I
Anybody?
think you've got everybody, Berta.
Okay, thanks. And Gail, were you able to push the record button?
I am recording as we speak.
Awesome. Okay. Well, great ideas for what we're talking about today. And I know a few of you were here last time. We're going to do quick housekeeping. PDG Gail and myself are, overviewing this, but stay on mute if you can, unless you wish to speak. If you know how to use the hand raising function, it actually helps. To do that, down on your, well, for most people, it's on the bottom of the screen. Sometimes it shows up on the top, but there's a place where it says participants. If you click on participants, it makes all your pictures smaller and it'll just have your name next to it. And at the bottom of the list of all the participants, there's a place where it says raise your hand, and it has the little hand icon. If you just click on that, it raises your hand. And Chessa's showing she's smart and she's added something fun up there. And it's just a nice way to be able to do it. And if you can't figure that out, just wave at us and one of us will see you. So if you do have questions and one of us is speaking, you can certainly ask questions in the chat box. And that's where, like today, Gail will be keeping an eye on that for me as I chat away. But you can always ask questions there. Be concise if possible. It's hard for Gail and me to do because we're district governors or past district governors, and we tend to chat a lot. But we're asking you to try to be concise if you can, because lots of people, and we hope there's lots of conversation that we can have. And we're being recorded. So we already did the introductions of all of you. So thank you again for being here. And I hope this is one of many that you are able to attend. And if you have other ideas for us to talk about as we go through these, we have some set plans, but please send us a note and say, what if we talk about this? Because we would love your ideas to add to this. Today's topic is actually about talking about your favorite leader. We want to know who was your favorite leader and why, because it's very telling when you can identify who your favorite leader is or was and why they were your favorite. It will help you to start to identify the kind of leader that you want to be. So I want to start by backing up, and because it's going to lead into this, who is your favorite leader? Last time, for those of you who weren't here, we talked about the definition of a leader, and we asked for everybody's input on these. These were some of the takeaways. It wasn't everybody's ideas, so if I missed yours, I apologize, but we wanted to just encapsulate it a little bit. Envisions, inspires, encourages, gets things done, and shares his or her strengths with everyone else. But there's also a characteristics of the leader that we talked about, and listens was the one that came up first. And Gail, that was really impressive that that was the very first one. Listening to each other, listening to the needs of those that you work with is one of the best things you can do, because you'll get clues about what it is they need and then work on ways to provide that. Responsive, appreciative, communicative, and sets an example. There's also different kinds of leaders that we talked about: authoritative, collaborative, passive, transformational, and servant leader. And we probably all, just hearing those words, we can probably put a name to on each of those and go, oh, that's the kind of leader that person was. And next week, or next session that we have, we're actually going to spend the whole session talking about what a servant leader is. So we're going to have more time to talk about that one. And then briefly, we talked about why do Rotarians often shy away from leadership. And, you know, some of the things: fear of failure, fear of public speaking, feeling unprepared, lack of time. I can't do it all. Well, those are all very normal, and you know, everybody says those things, but leadership can be learned. And so this is really where it leads us into your favorite leader.
So Berta,
yes,
we have somebody who's joined who doesn't have a name. It's an email address, rainbow775.
Oh, that's Judy.
Yeah. Oh, she's trying to get back in. Okay, all right. Sorry.
No,
Go
that's
ahead.
okay. Thanks for doing that. When just so you know, that's Judy Clark at Rainbow 775. So okay, so considering the definition of a leader, and whether it's the definition we just put up there a minute ago or your own definition, but considering the definition of a leader, the characteristics of good leaders, and the different styles of leader, what I'd really like you to think about is who is or was the person that was really your favorite leader, and think about why. And I'd love you to share from it. So who has someone that they would like to share about? Anyone want to share who their favorite leader is or why? This is a conversation, so you have to talk. Oh, did I see Jude? No, let's see.
I'm trying to raise my hand.
Okay, go for it. Is that Kathy? Or was that Judy?
My hand's up, and I don't know if Judy's is up too.
Well, let's start with you, Kathy, and let's get some ideas. So your favorite leader and why? It does. I don't need a name, because the name isn't that important, but it might be, oh, it was my boss when I worked for AT&T, or it was my first club president when I first joined, you know, so something of how they fit into the world. I don't need a name.
I thought about this a lot when I saw our topic, and I came down to a couple, and I'll say one of them was Nelson Mandela. And I chose, he is one of my favorites because even though he was imprisoned, and he wasn't bitter, he came out and he really led his country into significant change. So
yeah, great. He wasn't bitter. I heard that was a key point for you, in spite of what happened to him. And he led significant change, which is another thing. Oftentimes, as you know, you don't know what you're going to be thrown into in a position of leadership. But leading significant change is definitely one. And it's not an
inspired his country.
He did. He was definitely inspirational. Okay, thank you very much. And Judy, did you want to speak then? I think you said you.
Oh, yes, I have two, and I'll mention one by name, and then I'll talk about the other one, because when I mentioned the first one, no more needs to be said. I was fortunate enough to be in the club with Vicki Pulitz. She's been my mentor all along. But there's also another woman that came into my life very late. I was upset about that, but at least I had her in my life, and her name was Dr. Betty Small. Little teeny Chinese doctor, fascinating life, but we would have coffee in the morning on the phone together, and she always made me feel like I was the only person in the world when we talked. She always remembered people's names, and she was such an inspiration to me. She was an amazing woman, and I miss her so much since she passed. But Dr. Betty Small, yeah, really built me up.
Well, that's
Okay,
a part of, yes.
Sorry, Gary Ailes has his hand up.
Okay, good. So one last thing on that was the fact that a good leader builds other people up and builds others up. So that was a great tribute to Dr. Betty Small. So Gary.
Yeah, it's someone that I've had the pleasure of working under over about 20 some years, and that's Tony Robbins.
Wow.
He's a man that has already fed 1 million people, and his intent is to be able to feed 1 billion people with his basket brigade. He started with absolutely nothing, actually worse than nothing considering his life. And he's helped millions of people get past their blind spots and the prison they've locked themselves in. So he's somebody that at least many parts of his life I would love to emulate.
What's one thing that you would like to emulate that he does?
His ability to understand people's patterns and understand where they are already locked up, or the ability to influence a room of 20 or 30,000 people. And it's amazing changes that can occur with those kind of people.
You know,
From
one
the
of the things
stage, like a rock star.
that's awesome. And yeah, he's inspirational. And I think part of it, you know, it's tapping into us, to our humanity, right? I mean, none of us is perfect. We all have our demons. You said personal prisons was the term you used, but you know, whether it's our demons, our lack of self-confidence, something, we all have that, and we all have goodness in our hearts. And I think tapping into all of those as a leader is really, really important.
If you don't mind, one other comment. One of the things we tend to work on at RILA is get people to understand what their internal dialogue is and how that internal dialogue can be defeating to them. And that initially came from when I sent Rochelle and Dean to a Tony Robbins meeting, and they incorporated that in.
Interesting. I'm gonna walk away from the screen for just a second because there's a book that I want to share. Just happened to have it on my bookshelf, and for anyone who wants to think about what your internal conversations are like and how to tame that gremlin, this is a great little book called Taming Your Gremlin. It's an easy read, but it's a guide to enjoying yourself by Richard D. Carson, and I'd encourage it. It's you'll learn how to identify that gremlin, and you'll see him or her when he pops into your life. So thanks for bringing up that idea. Okay, so anyone else who would like to share? Do I see any other hands raised?
Hands are raised at this time.
Okay, awesome. My goodness. So my next slide is
Wendell has his hands up.
Oh, Wendell, who's your favorite leader and why?
So I know I attended the leadership assembly in Fallon, and I remember chatting with, of course, Berta and Lori. I'm a huge fan of, you know, the way that they've helped me and kind of guided me through everything. But another person that I had the kind of honor to chat with was Wynn, and Wynn had a lot of insightful things to say as well. Just a lot of positive input. Again, I join everybody who's on board with Vicky as well, but Wynn kind of, we had a little bit of a chat, and I kind of find a lot of familiar viewpoints with Wynn as well. And I appreciate everything she's helped me through as well. So yeah.
Wynn is a wise woman, that's for sure. Yes, she is. Okay. Seeing no more hands. What I'd like you to do is using the chat box. So do you all see where your chat box is on your computer? If you're calling in by phone, you may have a problem doing this, but if you're on your computer, you can go over to where it says chat. And I'd like you to think about 3 characteristics or 3 things your favorite leader does. So that person that you just talked about, what is it that they actually did? What was their behavior or some specific characteristic that he or she did that is the reason that you chose that person? And I see Scott had to leave, so he is dropping off. And I see educate, entertain, and empower, humble, approachable, enthusiastic, listens, inspires, encourages, listen well, empathize with where you are coming from, knowledge sharing, inspiring, healing, visionary. I'm feeling good just reading these. This is awesome. I don't think I missed any there, but walks the talk, talks to you, not at you, and sincere. Yeah. Listens well and empathy. Just like last time, listens has come up multiple times. And when we get to talking about servant leadership next time, it'll come up again, because one of the most important things you can do is understand the people around you. And you don't have to have a title to be a leader, right? And I will say that those people if you want to start to learn to be a leader and you don't have a leader position yet, just start listening to others. Start paying attention to what people say. Start paying attention to body language and energy in the room. Those are the things that are going to help you to understand what's really going on. Because sometimes we have to talk about the elephant in the room, the thing that's nobody's talking about, right? I think all of those things are really important. But listen well, empathy, walking the talk, inspiring, healing, all of these are beautiful. You guys got some great ones. Humble, approachable. Nice. Very, very nice. Okay, if I could only make my next. Okay, so now that you have your list that you wrote down in that chat box, I want you to think about what can you do to emulate those very same things that you just wrote down. So you put down listens well, or inspires, or walks the talks. Think about what it, break that down into more specifics. What do you then have to do as an individual to do those things? And I want this, rather than being in the chat, let's talk about it. Oh, Chessa's having to leave, darn. Thank you, Chessa, for being here. So who wants to be bold enough to say, what are some of the things that you might be able to do to emulate those things that you so admire in your favorite leader?
This is Judy. I'm having trouble raising my hand. I'm sorry, I'm on my phone and it's so hard to do anything here.
Don't worry about it. Just talk.
Okay. Yeah, I think because I think it's so important for listening. Maybe if there is anything to listen to, ask questions. Inquire.
And is there a certain way to ask questions?
I'm sure there is. You want to tell us?
Well, actually, which of these is more powerful? What can you do to contribute more to the club? Okay, that's one question. Or will you take this role and do it? Which of those questions is more powerful?
Of course, the first one.
Why?
Because you're giving them an opportunity. The second one, you're just kind of giving them a direction.
And
An opportunity to come up with something. It's more of it's not a yes or no question. You don't want to ask yes or no questions.
I mean, you can, but there's more power in the open-ended ones. And why is it more powerful?
You get more.
Yeah,
you get more information.
Good. Anyone else want to add to that? So I'm going to be bold and call on one of you and say, John, what can you do to emulate a couple of the things that you put on your list?
Well, the person that I picked was our local sheriff, who's now a board of supervisor. And I helped him get elected because he has integrity. And, you know, so many politicians today will tell you they'll do one thing and they'll turn around and do something else. They're not people of their word. And this man has always kept his word, and I admire that. I have modeled that in my life, which is a big thing because I deal with a lot of people that have personal problems and you need to be trusted. So the honesty level, I think, is one of the most important things about being a leader that you can have.
So do what you say and say what you do.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
And the other thing is when he talks to people, he includes you in the conversation. It's not like he's lecturing you or looking down on you. And I think it's important because who wants to be talked to? I mean, who wants to be talked at instead of being talked to? I think it's important because then you become part of the conversation instead of just being an outsider. So those are two things that I think are very important.
I agree. And also, when you're talking with someone, now they're part of the team, right? If you're talking at somebody, it creates those levels of separation. That's good. Anyone else want to share? Walt, you want to jump in on this one? A couple of things you might do to emulate your favorite leaders' actions?
You know, listening inspires and encourages what I came up with. And, you know, the leader that I was thinking about was a veterinarian that I worked for when I was in college, a large animal veterinarian, actually. And so to me, part of it was, you know, just how, well, let me back up a bit. Before we actually even, you know, one of the things that you'd notice first with this person that he had a severe speech impediment. And yet he got all the way through vet school and became a major leader in veterinary science, and actually taught at Davis and did a lot of leadership type things with Rotary and so on. And he just would always listen to people. It's amazing, you know, just the bedside manner that a doctor would have, where he listens to people and he figures out what was going on with the animals and what's important to them, as well as then he'd also often just encourage people to for better health for their animals, as well as encourage them to you know, with ideas of what they can do to improve their herds and so on. So it was to me, it was just you know, the type of person that, whether he's talking to a ranch hand or an owner of a huge ranch where you fly over and count your cows. And so it's just, which to me was a tremendous opportunity, and listening to him or seeing him work with those people out there. So
Interesting too, what you were saying, that he had, if he had a major speech impediment, he had to overcome adversity to do things. And yet you really didn't emphasize that. You talked about all the things he did. So his challenge, if you will, really didn't interfere with how he managed and how he led his organization.
not at all. In fact, I remember him joking once when he was going through, just before he became a veterinarian, they drill you with questions about veterinary science. And he stuttered so long that the veterinarian that was questioning him asked him, "How long did it take you to ask out your girlfriend on the first date?" And obviously they knew he was very intelligent and knew all that he needed to know. It's just that he often made light of his speech impediment too. So it was, to me, it was just amazing how he could do that. So.
No, great story you shared. Thank you very much for that. Anyone else have something to add here? Any other ideas you want to contribute there? Okay, let's move on. So I think that one of the things that we had talked about early on or mentioned was that you don't have to lead with it. You don't have to have a title in order to be a leader. And I think that just being the kind of leader that you would follow. I love this quote. I thought this was a great little one. But what, if you have someone, let's just look at your Rotary clubs. Are there a few people in your clubs who don't have a leadership title, but you consider them a leader? I see Stacy's head nodding. So say more about that person, Stacy.
I'd actually have to say it's more than that person. It's almost every single one of them. They, especially when they join a Rotary Club, usually they're leaders within their businesses or communities. And so, and they lead in very different styles. And some don't necessarily want the title. It's a little overwhelming, that title is to many. I'm sure all president-elects can understand that when they were asked. But every single person in my club is a leader in one sort of way or another. And as current club president, they lead me. So
and what is it that they do that makes you say that they are a leader?
Oh my goodness. Well, I just ask them, hey, what do you think about this? And the next thing I know, it's done.
They're people of action. It's not just a talking head.
Yeah, and they come up with ideas, and different philosophies. And in my business, each one of my employees has a different way that you communicate with them. And you just ask them and they say, yes, I prefer to be communicated, but they're leaders. They stand up and they take initiative. And I think that leaders, one of the big things they have is a sense to succeed. And in our Rotary clubs, every single person has a sense to succeed in that club. Well, we hope so. But in business, giving them the empowerment and giving our club members the empowerment to be a leader without actually having a title is something that probably one of the best things we can do for our members and keep them engaged.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Very, very true. Okay, anyone else? How can you lead without a title? Gary, any thoughts on that?
I like what Stacy said, and I think that leadership occurs throughout clubs. And there are those that would rather not be at the front would much rather lead from the side and support other people. And we have a couple of people in our club that absolutely want nothing to do with being up front or running a committee, but they do more work than anybody else. And I see them as very strong leaders. So I totally agree with Stacy that there are many ways, and I don't think there's anybody in the club that is not a leader.
Great. And that's one of the reasons we actually wanted to have these conversations too, was because there are people who just hear the word leadership and they go, not me, no, I don't want to be in that role. But the thing is, people are leaders, even if they don't have a role. And my favorite quote about leadership is, if they took away your title, would people still follow you? Because I think it's not about the title. It's, you know, it's about who you are inside and how you behave, what your values are, and how you come across to other people. So anything else on this? Kathy, was that you?
I'm trying to figure out how to raise my hand. Sorry. I just wanted to say, though, that can be sometimes turned. Sometimes people are leaders without a title, but they lead people in the wrong direction also. And we just need to be aware of that. They, you know, they have a leadership style, or well, I don't know if a leader is the right term, but they lead people, but they can lead them in the wrong direction. So we should be aware of that also.
Well, that's true. There are instances throughout history of strong leaders, but didn't necessarily have the right values, right? So, or the values that you believed in. And we can give examples, but yes, people can be influential, let's put it that way. And I think the other side of leadership is being able to also monitor that to some extent. If you have someone, especially if they're not in a titled role and they start leading a group of people in the wrong direction. So any ideas on that? What do you do when you have a leader who is taking you down the wrong path and you're part of that organization?
Wendell has his hand up.
Wendell, let's go for it.
So I'm all for absolute honesty between the club. I'm also for a touch of getting to know your club. If they're not willing to kind of be bold, be brave, and kind of put their hand up, then I'm also in for it's like, well, trying to find out what they're really about, and getting a better feel for your club. If it takes a little bit of creativity, not everybody can be unshy about it, I imagine. But again, the shoulders that you carry throughout your club are dependent on your board and your committee that support you. So
yeah, I think sometimes with you, sometimes someone taking a group a wrong direction, sometimes they just don't feel like they've been heard, right?
True. So again, I'm all for listening, but if nobody is talking in your club, then I don't know, start a fire. Right? I don't know how else to put it, but start a fire.
Well, I think you've said it well, because if all we did was listen, we wouldn't get anything done, would we? So we have to take it to another level. We have to turn listening into a vision, and turn that into a goal, and turn that into some action plans and take some steps towards it. So yeah, it's not just about listening. I like that, light a fire. Might just use that. Anyone else have anything on this one? So how can you claim it? You know, one of the reasons that I put this topic in here in terms of these conversations is that I really think it's important for us to claim our own strengths. That we all bring to the table something. It is when we not only bring our strengths to the table, but stand up with that, just like you were saying a minute ago. That's when we accomplish things. I'll use Stacy's mechanics. They speak up, they do their job, they're capable, and that's their strength. That's what they bring to the table. So I have to remember what I have on my next slide here. Yeah, I'm going to go back. So I'd like each of you to say, what is your strength that you believe that you bring, whether you have a title or not, it doesn't matter, but what's one strength that you bring to the table, whether it's within your club, within your family, within a business, it doesn't matter. And who wants to go first?
I'll go.
Judy, what's first?
Common sense.
I love it.
Seems to be-
Common sense.
I don't see much of it around these days, and it just things seem so common sense to me that I think I have a lot of good common sense that people rely on.
Awesome. Yeah, good. We need that common sense. Tammy, you want to claim one? What do you claim as your strength? One of your
got me stumped up. Yeah, one of my strengths. There you go. I would say one of my strengths is that I'm wanting to get that job. You know, I'm there to get that job done. You know, I'm not gonna let it go in the back burners. I get in the front burners when it get done, so we go on to the next project. And so
definitely give it to Tammy. It's gonna get done. That's great.
Yep.
Stick to itiveness. Absolutely. Thank you. Walt, how about you?
I would say that, you know, lead by example. Don't do anything that I wouldn't do myself. You know, ask anyone to do anything that I should say, don't ask anyone to do anything that I wouldn't do myself.
Good.
And so those, I would say that was probably that's the way I run my business and so on. So
it's a good thing. So thank you. John, how about you?
So if I go by what other people tell me, and that's how I see it too, I'm a type of person that makes things happen. I won't open my mouth and say I can make that happen if I can't make it happen. I think it's just really good that people come to me and ask me about ideas that they have, and if I say to them, "We'll make that happen," it's going to happen. I can tell you that right now. So very, very determined to make things happen.
Yes,
when you only have 8 members in your club, you do what you can do.
I love it. Great. Thanks, John. Next, Wendell. What do you claim? We can't hear you. There
Yeah,
you go.
I'm sorry. I got that off mute now. So I was a little bit nervous when I jumped in as president, and I imagine you all feel the pressure that I was under, just as you were under. But I think being relatable, I think that was kind of, I mean, I was a sergeant before I jumped into president, and honestly, well, if you're gonna pick me as president, you're gonna have to put up with me being allowed to fail. I understand everybody wants to be a leader, but you also have to understand that there are times that sometimes you have to learn more to fail to kind of achieve the goal that you're looking for. So,
You know, Wendell, it's so true. And I also believe that a leader who's willing to fail or to stand up to that failure gives permission for others to do the same, to try something new, even if you don't know if it's going to work, right? Or you're going to try a project and you don't know if it's going to come together. But the willingness to try, when you do that and you give that opportunity to, you can't succeed if you've never tried. And sometimes in trying, there are failures in it. So it's good wisdom.
I know everybody would love to succeed and everybody would love to kind of be a champion. But again, if you've never been at the bottom, so thank you.
From the bottom, you come on up. So that's awesome. Stacy, how about you?
Oh man. Okay, so one of the funny things I've done in the past couple of years is I went around to friends, family, and employees and club members and asked them what my best quality was and what my worst quality was. And that's kind of brave to have to do because maybe you don't want to hear it. And my employees thought they were going to get fired, but I told them you weren't going to get fired. You're okay. So what I got from it, and Tammy, I love your tenacity. I think that's an incredible quality. And Wendell, what you said right on point, you're not always going to succeed, you're going to fail. But if you learn something from that failure and you take accountability, that is so very important. But I would probably say everybody picked up on my enthusiasm for all happy things. So I'm probably one of the biggest cheerleaders and enthusiastic people because COVID was not about to take my businesses down. I was going to take it down. So enthusiasm, mine.
I think that's a good one. And, just everyone read what's on this screen, because when people tell you, trust what they see about you. So good. Thanks, Stacy. And we've got a couple more. Kathy, what about you?
I'd have to say creativity and willingness to do whatever I ask anybody else to do.
Good. And creativity is an important one to bring new ideas into an environment. And who did I leave out? Gary.
Persistence.
Okay. Good. Did I miss anybody? I don't think so, but that's awesome, you guys. This is what, when people have trust in you and believe that you will be good at something, trust what they see. You trust that, humility is not saying, oh, I'm not good at anything. Humility is owning your own strengths and weaknesses and being able to put your strengths out there and to work on your weaknesses. That's my feeling. Couple more slides. We've just got a few more minutes. In fact, we're trying to wrap up here. So I thought this was a good slide. When people respect you as a person, they admire you. When they respect you as a friend, they love you. And when they respect you as a leader, they follow you. But it really comes back down to respecting you as a person, right? I mean, that's the bottom line. Be who you are. Bring who you are as a person forward when you lead. And so what's your takeaway? Anyone? I think it's just be you. I love this one. Just be unstoppable, be honest, be worthy, be a good person, bring your strengths to the table, and you're going to be a great leader. That's what people are looking for. They want someone who is real. They don't want somebody who's fake. They want you real.
Sorry, Wendell has his hand up.
Sorry, thank you so much. Let's appreciate it.
No, my fault. I think you hit it right on the head there. Just remember that you're not, I think you all feel the club surrounding you. You're not just an individual, you are a club. You do have a team. It's not you carrying the entire burden. So
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so true. All of them. And next is, we're running late, so I'm going to ask you to do this on your own, but write one of those phrases down that you want to claim to make you a leader or a better leader. Be brave, be courageous, be honest, whatever it is. But we're going to just let you do that on your own because we're moving on. And I want you to remember to believe in yourself, because that's really what it all is about. And so with that, believe it or not, oh my God, I can't believe the hour flew by so fast. Is there anything else that you want to say before we wrap up today? Next time is gonna be on a Thursday morning at 10 on the 25th. So hopefully some of you can still come back to that. If you can't, we're gonna keep rotating days and times to try to get as many people as we can. But is there anything else that you want us to add? Please send Gail or me an email and we'll add it to the list of topics that we're gonna cover. And is there anything else last minute that you'd like to say or share?
I do.
Stacy.
My goodness, I have some of your emails, but I don't have all of your emails, but I really want your emails because I would love to be able to reach out to each one of you because you bring something different to the table that I don't have. And I would just love, send me your email addresses so we can communicate and talk because I can learn something from each and every one of you. Thank you so much. Wonderful session.
Gary Ailes has his hand up.
Gary?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that it seems to me like that there's a whole group of really great leaders here. They don't need any training. All they're doing is picking up pearls as I was looking for. So I really appreciate being here and I appreciate everybody that's on this.
Awesome. Ditto.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you very much. And
Thank you
thanks-
all so much for being here this evening and everyone that you can make. We really appreciate it.
We do. Any other comments? Feel free to email us. We love hearing your feedback. And we look forward to seeing you on our next call or one of the other ones. So take care, everyone.
Have a great evening.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Thanks again, night.
Thank you all.